RunSignUp is a payment facilitator. As a payment facilitator, we have a responsibility to the banking industry and the credit card networks to do background checks on any race who is processing money through our site. This is to help prevent things like money laundering or enabling bad businesses who will not fulfill the obligations of what they are selling to a credit card holder. As a payment facilitator and a PCI Level 1 compliant service provider, we take payment setup seriously, with a process designed to get our races paid accurately and on time while preventing fraudulent events. RunSignUp is one of only a couple of hundred payment facilitators in the country. While RunSignUp does collect a lot of information with payment setup, in order to be in accordance with all of the banking industry rules that we are subject to, the good news is that you can be comfortable with the fact that we have taken the steps and invested the resources in making sure that we know who we are doing business with, and that we have the security measures in place to protect our business and your races from illegal money transfers and fraud. For more information on all of this, please feel free to go to our blog and/or help pages and search for payment. The payment setup is one of the steps in the race wizard. You can also access the payment setup from the race dashboard by going to the financial section and clicking on payment setup. This will bring you directly to the payment setup step of the race wizard. First off on the payment step, you will have three options: Setup Now, Setup Later, or use Test/Volunteer mode. Under Setup Now, you can select one of your existing payment accounts from the drop-down menu if applicable, or you can create a new payment account. We will return to the Setup Now section and walk through these steps in a moment. The Setup Later option is useful if you are not the person in charge of payment information for your race. If you are not the one who will be setting up your race's payment information, then you can enter in the email address of someone who is in charge of that information here to send instructions on setting up a payment account to them, which gives them some limited access to financial pages for your race. With Setup Later, you do have the option to begin taking transactions now with a deferred setup, but only select this option if you cannot obtain the information to set up a payment account at the moment, but would like to start accepting transactions. With this option selected, participants will be able to register for your race, but you will not receive any payments until after your payment information has been entered in and approved. It is important to note that by checking off this box, transaction processing will be limited to $3,000 and payments will not be processed until the payment information is complete. Also, all transactions may be refunded to the users if you do not enter in your payment information in a timely manner or your account is not approved. If you do enable the deferred setup option, you will need to fill out the Tell Us About Yourself section. This section will be explained in a moment when we go over it in the Setup Now option. While you can choose to set up your payment information later, it is recommended that you enter in your payment information as soon as possible and do not use the Setup Later option. So for this tutorial, we will not use this option. The option for Use Test/Volunteer mode is useful if you just want to test out registration without actually accepting credit card payments, or if your race only has volunteer or free events. Please note that if you do end up setting a registration fee for your event or events, or if you have add-ons or store items which are not free, then anyone who tries to pay for something in your race will see an error message which lets them know that they cannot complete this test mode transaction without a payment account set up. If you plan on accepting transactions that are above $0, then you will need to return to the payment step and stop using the Test/Volunteer mode. Since most races will not be entirely free for everyone, we will not use this option either. Instead, we will return to the Setup Now option, as this is the option which most races will want to use. As stated previously, you can select to use an existing payment account if you have one already, or you can create a new payment account. If you already have a payment account on RunSignUp, and you would like to use this existing payment account to process transactions for this race, then you can simply open up the drop-down menu, select the payment account that you would like to use, and then click Save and Continue. However, if you need to create a new payment account, then you can begin by clicking on the button for Create New Account. If this is your first time using RunSignUp, then this following section will not appear for you. But if you have created a race and set up payments on RunSignUp before, then there will be an existing payment account check. Here you can verify that the new account that you are creating is not for any of your tax IDs which you already have existing accounts under. If you are trying to create a new payment account for one of your existing tax IDs which you have already used in RunSignUp, then do not create a new account, but instead use the existing payment account. The section for Tell Us About Yourself allows us to verify your information for security purposes, even if you are not the person who will be paid. Please note that the answers to some common questions that we have received in reference to this section, such as why are you asking for my personal info and why do you need my social security number, can be found at the bottom of this section. Next, you will need to answer the question of who would you like us to pay. It is important to note that all earnings will be reported to the IRS under the legal entity type that is created here. You can choose yourself, business entity, 501c3 charities and other nonprofit organizations, or public schools and other government entities. If you would like for us to pay yourself, then this will be an individual personal payment account type. You will be processing transactions under your legal name and social security number. It is important to note that if you are a sole proprietor of a business, then instead of selecting the Yourself option, it is recommended that you select Business Entity. This way you'll be able to go to the field for business type and select Individual or Sole Proprietorship. If you do select to have us pay yourself, then the personal information that you entered into the prior section will be used when approving your payment account, so please make sure that all of the information in this section is correct. Also note that the address you have listed here does not need to be the same address that you would like us to mail checks to. The mailing address for check payments can be set later, and this can either be the same as the address you have listed above, or a different address if you would like. If you decide to select Business Entity, then this will be a for-profit business payment account type, and you will be processing transactions under the business legal name and EIN. To learn more about EINs, we have some common questions and responses listed here, as well as in the written portion of our tutorial page on this topic, which you can find by going to the top of the page and clicking on the Help button. By selecting Business Entity, this will open up the section for Tell Us About Your Business. Here you will need to fill out information pertaining to your business. When entering in the business name and EIN, or tax ID, it is important to make sure that you are entering in the legal business name and EIN as they are registered with the IRS. The section for Official DBA, aka Doing Business As, should not be touched unless you have registered your DBA. If you do have a legally registered Doing Business As name that is different from the business legal name, then you can check off the box to indicate this and enter in the DBA. Next you will fill out the address section. And for this section, it is important to note that only physical addresses are able to be entered for the organization location. P.O. boxes are not acceptable in these fields. Please note though that later on, when setting up the mailing address for check payment, this address can be the same as the business address, or you can enter in a different address, which can be a P.O. box if necessary. There is also a section for advanced payment. By leaving this box checked, you will need to enter in more information about your business, but with this information, we are able to offer your race a lower processing fee for donations, and the option to be paid daily if you would like. So while you can unselect the advanced payment option, it is better for your race to select the advanced payment account because it offers several features which are not available with the normal Quick Start payment account. With an advanced payment account, there are more detailed financial reports. You have the options to release funds daily, weekly, or monthly. You can switch between direct deposit payments and check payments at any time. You can place a hold on your payment account to stop payments until you want them to be released to your race. There is a quicker settlement time for American Express transactions. As mentioned previously, there are lowered processing fees for donations. If you have multiple races using the same payment account, then you can transfer funds from one race to another race's refund reserve. And there is a longer billing descriptor, which can reduce the number of chargebacks that your participants may do if they do not recognize a charge on their credit card. In the Legal Ownership Information section, you will need to let us know what is your relationship to the business. Here we are looking for how the individual that you've entered into the Tell Us About Yourself section above is related to the business which you've entered into the Tell Us About Your Business section. For business entities, you can only choose either owners or officers depending on your business type. Owner, as the name suggests, is what you would select if you were a person with ownership of the business. If you are an owner, then you will need to enter in your ownership percentage. Also, if there is anyone other than yourself who has 25% or more ownership of the business, then click on Add Another Owner, and fill out the additional owner's personal information and ownership percentage. You can add another owner if you need to, and again, please make sure that anyone who has 25% or more ownership of the business is listed here. If the person listed in the Tell Us About Yourself section is not the owner of the business, then you may be an officer. An officer is an individual with significant responsibility to control, manage, or direct a legal entity customer, including an executive officer or senior manager. For example, a chief executive officer, chief financial officer, chief operating officer, managing member, general partner, president, vice president, or treasurer. If the individual whose information is in the Tell Us About Yourself section is an officer, then you will need to select the employee title for this individual. If their title is not listed here as an option, then you can select someone else who regularly performs similar functions, and then enter in the title for this individual. The next thing you will need to know as an officer is whether or not there is anyone who has 25% or more ownership of the business. If there are no owners with 25% or more ownership of the business, then you can select the box to indicate this. However, if there are owners with 25% more ownership in the business, then you will need to fill out the owner information for anyone who has 25% or more ownership of the business. This includes knowing their name, address, ownership percentage, their title at the business, their full social security number, and their date of birth. Again, another owner should be added for everyone who has 25% or more ownership of the business. Please note that this information will be stored safely and securely. If you or the owners have concerns about site security on RunSignUp, then you can go to our blog and search for security in order to learn more about the measures that we have taken. Going back up to the Who Would You Like Us to Pay dropdown, if the funds are paid to a 501c3 charity or other nonprofit organization, then you should select this option. The Tell Us About Your Charity section will be similar to the Tell Us About Your Business section, which was explained previously, except the word business now shows as charity. For questions about the fields here, please refer back to the Tell Us About Your Business section. When indicating your relationship to the charity, you will be indicating how the person who is entered into the Tell Us About Yourself section above is related to the charity that is listed in the following section. When setting up a payment account for a 501c3 charity or other nonprofits, the individual listed in the Tell Us About Yourself section can only be an officer. This will be the only option that you can select under the What is your relationship to the charity dropdown. You can then set the employee title for that officer, as was explained in the business section of this tutorial. Returning again to the Who Would You Like Us to Pay dropdown, if the funds are paid to a public school or other government entity, then you can select this option here. As with the charity setup, the Tell Us About Your School, Government, etc. section can be navigated and filled out in the same way as the Tell Us About Your Business section, which was explained previously. The only difference is that instead of the word business, you will see the words school, government, etc. To learn the specifics about the Tell Us About Your School, Government, etc. section, please refer back to the Tell Us About Your Business section of this tutorial. When you get to the legal ownership information section, and you open up the dropdown for what is your relationship to the school, government, etc., you will notice that the only option that is not selectable here is owner. This is because government entities do not have a concept of a controlling owner. However, government entity types must provide personal information for an employee, an officer, or some other authorized representative, since payment accounts must be associated with a person. An authorized representative is an individual who is authorized to set up a legal entity for a government entity. Officers and employees are examples of authorized representatives. Once you have set up the new payment account information above, you will find the Credit Card Sales Experience section. Here you will need to set the annual credit card sales volume through RunSignUp. The option that you choose from this drop-down list should be your best estimation of the amount of money that you think you will collect on this payment account via credit card each year. Please note that this amount is the overall amount that you plan on collecting with this payment account in a year, and not just for this race. So if you plan on using this payment account for multiple races on RunSignUp, you will need to add up all of the amounts that you expect to bring in via credit card from all of those races, and select the range that comes closest to that total from the drop-down list. You will also be asked if you or your organization has accepted credit cards before. If you have collected money via credit card in the past, either directly or through other online registration services, then you can select yes. If you have not accepted credit cards before, then you can select no. Next, you will need to decide how you or your organization would like to be paid. You can select direct deposit or check. The recommended method for getting paid is direct deposit. Setting up direct deposit is much more convenient for you and your race because you will not need to rely on the speed of the postal service to receive your payments. In addition to that, it could also spare you a trip or several trips to the bank. Please note that by default, check payments are released every Tuesday end of day if the proceeds payable to you are greater than or equal to $1,000. If Tuesday end of day arrives and proceeds payable to you remains less than $1,000, then no payment will be released to you that week. Your payment will not be released until the proceeds payable on that check is above $1,000, or after your race has concluded, whichever comes first. Also, please note that if you do receive a notification that a check payment was released, please allow up to 10 business days for the check to arrive. To learn about the status of the check after 10 business days have passed, please contact finance@runsignup.com. For this tutorial, we will set up direct deposit because it is a recommended option and because all of the fields that are associated with the check payment appear under the direct deposit option as well. So if you have selected check and not direct deposit, then you can skip forward to the part where we fill out the check information. When you select direct deposit, you will need to enter in what type of bank account you want to deposit your race funds into, either checking, savings, corporate, or corporate savings. Once you have this selected, enter in the bank routing number, as well as the bank account number. A helpful hint on where to find this information can be seen here. While in this section, don't forget to check out the responses to common questions that we receive in regards to payments. Please note that by default, funds are released via direct deposit every Tuesday end of day. Please allow up to 3 business days for the funds to be reflected on your bank statement. Next up, you will also need to provide a mailing address for check payments. Occasionally, we may need to send you a payment that cannot be paid through direct deposit, such as when your refund reserve funds are released on certain types of accounts. First, select the Pay to Order of information from the drop-down menu. If the Pay to Order of value that you want is not found in this list, then you can update the information in this drop-down by correcting it above. If you have selected yourself in the Who Would You Like Us to Pay field, then the name that is found in the Pay to Order of drop-down will be taken from the Tell Us About Yourself section above. If this is not the first and last name of the person you want checks to go to, then you will need to correct this information. If you have selected business entity, 501c3 charities and other nonprofit organizations, or public schools and other government entities from the Who Would You Like Us to Pay dropdown, then the name or names found in the Pay to Order of field will be taken from the legal name field and the Doing Business As field. Moving on to the address section, if the address that you would like to use for the checks is the same as the Who Would You Like Us to Pay section for businesses, charities, and other government entities, or the same as your own address if you have selected to pay yourself, then you can check off the box to indicate this here. However, if the address is different, then you can leave the box unchecked and enter in the address that you want the check mailed to here. Please note that unlike the address for your organization, this mailing address for your checks can be a P.O. box. Once you have correctly filled out all of the information that is required above, read through the payment account agreement, which is linked here. If you agree to all of these terms, then type your full name into the box below to indicate that you have read and agree to the payment account agreement. Then, click on the button for Save and Continue. It is important to note that in some instances, you may click Save and Continue and have a pop-up tell you that payment account setup errors have occurred. This means that our system was not able to auto-approve your payment account. At this point, you can choose to either wait on manual review or select I will update my information and try again. The Wait on Manual Review option sends your payment account application to our risk team for manual review. The review process itself takes less than 24 hours, but there can be occasions where manual review may take up to 3 to 5 days. You will receive an email notification to let you know if your payment account gets approved, and if there are any issues with your payment account application, then our risk team will reach out to you. Please note that if you go to your Race dashboard, you can click on the status icon to view information on your payment account situation. Going back to the pop-up window for payment account setup errors, the option for I will update my information and try again will create several new fields on the payment account application for you to fill out. If you would like to try to auto-approve your payment account, then you can choose this option to enter additional information. Otherwise, choose Wait on Manual Review. If you go to our written tutorial on this payment setup step, which can be found by going to the top of the payment step and clicking on the Help button, then you can find links to various payment-related help pages. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can click here to view our payment account FAQs, and for a guide on how to manage your payment account, you can click here. Also, on your Race dashboard, under Financial, Summary, and then Payment Account, you will be able to view things such as your estimated next payment information if your payment account has been approved, and you can view the payment schedule for the account that you have set up. If you click on Manage Payment Account, then you can change the frequency of payments for direct deposit accounts, as well as give admin or use-only access to others at your race. Please note though that this is giving them access to the payment account. This is not the same as giving them admin access to the race as a race director, which can be done from the Race dashboard under Race, Secure Access/Info Sharing, and then add a race director. Also on the dashboard, under Financial, Summary, and then Payments, you can view the race payments list in order to see detailed reports on all of the payments that are made to your race. To learn more about these or any feature on the Race dashboard, you can click on the Help button which is found on that page. For any additional assistance with your payment account setup, feel free to reach out to finance@runsignup.com.